We're here today with a couple of people who I consider friends and among the smartest people I know, both of them. And we're going to talk a little bit today about blockchain. We're going to talk about crypto. We're going to talk about tokenization, which is something I'm hearing and learning more about. So let's start accurately with the idea that I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But you two do. So this is a chance for our community to get a little bit of education here, a little information to help us to figure out what's going on in the world. First, introduce Agnes Budzyn. Agnes is a friend for several years now. She's been an investor, particularly early stage investments, and everything around the rails of what facilitates the blockchain in the whole crypto world. So she's the founder and managing partner at Blue Edge Ventures, and so you know a lot about this world. We were just talking about that you and David Schamis, who I'm introducing next, supposed to have a Yale connection, so it's interesting to hear about that. David graduated from Yale. His son just graduated from Yale this year.
Congratulations.
And he's waiting to find out if his daughter's going to go to Yale.
Just what I need to jinx it.
And David's been a friend for years now, and he's the co-founder and CIO of Atlas Merchant Capital. Had his roots in the private equity world, particularly around finance, particularly around banks. I remember when you were at J.C. Flowers, you had a big deal in Japan that made that firm and made your brand and your career.
Yes.
It was an enormous transaction that changed the opinion of the whole world about banking as a potential private equity play.
It did. It was more than 25 years ago at this point.
No.
Amazing. Yeah, we signed that deal in March of 2000. But it was a great deal. It was a really good deal.
And as a CIO of Atlas Merchant Capital, I hadn't heard you, full disclosure, I get to serve on the advisory board of Atlas Merchant Capital, and I'm an investor. And I haven't heard you talk a lot about crypto or blockchain, and all of a sudden something comes across your desk that might be an interesting investment opportunity. And my understanding is you just dunked your head in it now.
I would be a little more broad on that. So in 2015, I bought some Bitcoin. I should have bought more. We all should have bought more. I think in 2017, Bob and I were on CNBC, and I made the comment that everyone should have 1% of their net worth in Bitcoin.
You didn't?
I kind of got laughed at. I was not 1% at the time. I should have had. We all should have had more, obviously. So I have been crypto aware for a long time. I wouldn't call myself crypto native. To me, crypto native is someone who only spends all their time on crypto. That's all they do.
And there's a lot of those people.
And there are definitely a lot of those people. A lot of them, sort of wear pajamas to work and, don't shave very often. But there are a lot of those people. So I would consider myself to be crypto aware. And I think what's happened, 5 years ago, there weren't a lot of people in between, right? There were the crypto natives. That's all they did. It's all they wanted to talk about. And then there was everyone else, the Jamie Dimons of the world 5 years ago who thought and said it was all a fraud. Yeah. I think we're at a point now where we're finding out there's something in between, and Bitcoin is not how we're all going to be transacting anytime soon, but it's not a fraud either. Bitcoin has a $2 trillion market cap. It's not going away anytime soon. So anyway,
when you say a $2 trillion market cap, the total value of the Bitcoins that have been mined, issued, and trade is $2 trillion.
Correct. So about 5 years ago, we got to know a company called Circle very well. Everyone knows Circle now. Everyone talks about stablecoins now. At the time, it was still a pretty new idea.
Great investment for Atlas.
It was a great investment. So we made an investment in that in a pretty, I wouldn't call it an early round. I'd call it a medium round. The IPO happened over the summer. Worked out great for us, so we're very happy with that.
And explain what a stablecoin is.
So a stablecoin is a token. It's a crypto token, the same way Bitcoin or Ethereum is a token, but it's designed such that one token equals $1. So Bitcoin price goes up and down all the time. You could use it to transact for commerce. The problem is that if you post your price, by the time someone shows up the next day, Bitcoin's price might have moved, and that's a hard way to operate. Stablecoins are designed so that one coin equals $1.
All the time.
All the time.
So they're playing in the background, buying and selling to make sure that it's approximate to $1.
Yeah, I think from a structural point of view, it looks a lot like an ETF. An ETF where, let's say it's an S&P 500 ETF. The company that runs the ETF is busy constantly managing their portfolio, so it looks exactly like an ETF. And if lots of people are buying their ETFs, they buy more of the things. And if lots of people are selling their ETFs, there's a way for them to liquidate these things down. It's very similar to that.
So
probably simpler, actually.
The purpose of a stablecoin is to give you an easier way to transact?
Yeah, I think if I want to send you, let's just say, God forbid, I owed you $20 million, and I want to pay you on a Saturday afternoon. Right now, if I owed you $20, I could send you $20 on Venmo, no problem, on a Saturday. If I owed you $20 million, you can't really pay someone $20 million on a Saturday afternoon unless you happen to have a lot of cash on you, like a van full of cash. And we're in it's 2025, it's almost 2026. We've had tremendous amounts of financial innovation and technology in the last 40 plus years. Yet, I still can't send someone $20 million on a Saturday afternoon. How can that be? So stablecoins allow for that, and the reason it's being allowed is that you're bypassing the banks, right? I'm sending you $20 million or $20,000 or whatever, and we're on the crypto rails. We're not in the bank rails, and that's one of the main purposes of stablecoin, that you could send people money, real amounts of money, not immaterial amounts, and bypass the traditional rails that we've all gotten used to.
Agnes, what does that mean, that it's on the crypto rails and it's supported by blockchain?
So it's on chain. So as we were talking about, it's pretty much transparent. The transaction is recorded. It cannot be deleted, altered, and all sides, doesn't matter if it's me, you, anybody else in this room can log in and see exactly the same information at the same time. So that's the beauty of stablecoin. Actually, go a little bit farther. Stablecoins also are a very good instrument when you do a lot of international business, because you do not have to go through 3 or 7 different banks, central banks,
Which is time consuming.
Exactly, which is time.
I just received a refund check from
and expensive, exactly.
Yeah.
Time consuming, expensive. You can do these things pretty much almost immediately. And also it is, because it's pegged to $1, you do not have the risk of currency, of FX fluctuation. Because if I owe you $20 million, it doesn't matter which country you are in the world, I'm sending you $20 million.
In dollars.
In dollars, exactly. So for example, if you live in Argentina and there's a huge fluctuation, it doesn't matter. For example, also country like Argentina or Turkey or others had a hard time of getting their hands on hard currency like $1. So when you show up in Argentinian bank, there's, who knows if there's a chance for you of getting to your $20 million in American dollars.
Yeah.
So, and if you get it in pesos, then you are subject to currency fluctuation and risks. So these are kind of all these really benefits of stablecoins, and they're becoming more and more popular because people are seeing the benefits of it.
So you were helping governments in 2009 and 10 recover their financial health, working at Blackstone, working with governments around the world to recover after the financial crisis. What got you from that world interested in the world of blockchain and crypto? And then along the way, who has the blockchain? You said no one can alter it. Where is it?
Yes. So I went from BlackRock to blockchain, which is which is very interesting transition. To be honest with you, actually, there was this almost like when I'm thinking about it right now, there was this kind of aha moment one time when we were sitting on the trading floor around like 2 a.m. winding down Lehman Brothers and looking at all these wide, convoluted things, and we were kind of joking, saying, oh, maybe one day there's going to be like a magical database where all the information on derivatives are going to be there, all the information about whatever risks, assets, whatever you have are just there. We can just punch in code and it's going to just show up.
And because the fact that there wasn't then is why you had the problem at Lehman Brothers, why you had the problem at AIG before that, and why banks in general had these pools of derivatives, couldn't tell you if they were solvent on any given day because there wasn't that central repository.
Exactly. And fast forward 2014-15, I got into this kind of random, I was invited to this random dinner with a whole bunch of engineers, and they start talking about this thing called Bitcoin. And at that time, like, there was very little information about it, so I started digging more and more.
Except he knew about it. He's buying Bitcoin.
2015.
Yeah, exactly. A year later, I think 2015, that was where the famous Economist article came out about Bitcoin. Exactly. So I was there around 14, and again, like, I'm not an engineer, so I was looking at it and I'm like, okay. So I got some information from friends and tried to kind of stick around to see who else was talking about this. But when I actually met Joe Lubin at Consensus and Ethereum World, that's when I really understood what that meant. And when he was kind of, when the Ethereum ecosystem, where people were talking about what blockchain really is, that's when my kind of Lehman Brothers aha moment came back. Because for a lot of people, blockchain is equivalent to crypto, which is incorrect. But for me,
it's necessary for crypto, right?
Exactly.
Exactly
It is
right.
just a one application. For me, blockchain is a database of 21st, 22nd century, where you can put all the information on it. It's transparent, it's immutable, it's undeletable, and everybody can see and have access to exactly the same information at the same time.
In the art world, you hear people talk about provenance. And that is a record of who's owned a painting.
Exactly.
For authenticity, for to
Yes.
temper thievery
Yep.
and fakes in that world. So is this a modern version of provenance?
Yes. And it's even better because anyone who can log in into the system can see it. So for provenance, you have to be an owner or you have to be interested in buying. In terms of blockchain, you can get into the system and anyone can see it.
Who maintains it?
Everyone. Every engineer that is working on different systems.
So there are many different blockchains.
Yes. It's like me asking you, who maintains internet? Everyone.
Yeah, like I think a good way to think about it is people talk about miners, right? You always hear the term, "Oh, he's a Bitcoin miner."
Yeah, I want to come back to that.
Okay, and no one ever knows what that really means. What does it mean to be a miner?
Yes.
What it means to be a miner is that you are basically keeping that list of every transaction back to the beginning. So let's just say the three of us decide we're going to be miners.
Yep.
We set up a bunch of computers. What are we doing? We're going to download every single Bitcoin transaction that happened back to whatever, 2009. And then every one that happens going forward, we're going to keep track of it. And we're doing that, and thousands of other people are doing it also. It's all duplicative.
Yeah.
And let's say the three of us have some brilliant idea. We're gonna steal some money. We're gonna, in our version of that, we're gonna say that we have a bunch of Bitcoin and we take it from someone else. Well, it's great that we said that, but the other, whatever, 9,999 or whatever number of miners are out there are going to say, no, you guys don't. What are you talking about? Like, we have the list. We know you don't have that. Yeah. And so fraud is very, very difficult. But that's all a miner is keeping track of this long, long list, which actually isn't all that long.
So you have to have a 51% agreement. So if we three say, hey, we have 50 Bitcoins, 51% of all the miners in the world will have to say, oh yes, you do, or they go to a transaction and say, no, you don't. Yeah. And your transaction is pretty much kicked out. So
we hear about people spending, you talk about being in a picks and shovel end of this world,
True.
investing in the picks and shovels, the engineering capabilities to facilitate blockchains. And we're going to talk about marketplaces and tokenization, just so I get completely overwhelmed here.
Yeah.
But we hear about people, I'm watching the show Billions several years ago, and they tap into an electrical grid in upstate New York to mine Bitcoins.
Sure.
What does that mean? Why does it take so much energy? What's going on?
So I think, so my company, my firm invests in digital infrastructure that is dual use. So it's a civilian and defense or government, however you want to call it. But I look at all the digital roads and bridges that will be required for us to function as a society. If you believe that internet is a thing and AI is a thing and they're going to stick around.
And they are, but we can't see them.
Yeah, exactly. You need to have systems of, this invisible digital rails that connect you, that keep your data safe, encrypted, where you can look at compression mechanisms because we produce more and more data. We need to have, better way of an energy transition. We need to figure out better ways. We need to figure out better ways of cooling systems, like liquid immersion coolings, so we can pretty much exist and go forward with all these things that we have planned for, regardless if it's AI or blockchain. Because everyone in 2018-19 has been complaining how much energy it takes for Bitcoin mining.
Why does it take so much energy?
Because the computing power is, it requires a lot of electricity to not only run your GPUs, but also cool them. And everything has to be run in exactly the same way, because if one of them slows down, it slows down everything else. So you cannot have a fluctuation in energy. Mm-hmm. So the grid has to be reliable, and you have to use it for multiple things.
So if I have access to compute power and clean electricity, I can go out there and make myself a Bitcoin?
Technically,
it's
yes.
Worth something near $100,000 today?
So I sit on the board of a company called Soluna Computing, and that's what Soluna does. Soluna pretty much builds a data center near the energy centers, alternative energy centers, wind, water, sun, where they are solving probably the biggest problem for alternative energy, which is wastage. When alternative energy travels from the center to the grid, there's a huge wastage along the way. So by building these kind of centers nearby, they're able to capture 100% of the energy.
At Harry and David, we work with our hands as well as our hearts, so you can enjoy sharing it as much as we enjoy making it. And that's what life's really all about, sharing with those we're closest to, no matter how far we are apart. Harry and David, share more.
So now, what kind of permission do they need? They got a programmer and I made $100,000 Bitcoin, put it in my pocket, I'll make another one.
Yes.
The problem is, how much money did you spend on electricity to generate that?
Exactly.
That's the problem. And if it costs you $101,000 to generate $100,000 of Bitcoin, that's not a great business.
Exactly. And that's why actually Soluna also uses their energy for AI, for any kind of computing power, because that's another huge issue. So right now, if we want to get to the level where AI replaces all of us and all our jobs, the amount of energy
I can't wait.
I'm sorry, I don't think it's happening anytime soon. Okay, so the amount of energy it requires, it is pretty much unprecedented. It's probably 100 times more than Bitcoin, maybe even 1,000 times more than Bitcoin. I don't think people are still calculating to determine what that is.
The break-even point on your cost to manufacture versus the value.
Yes, in terms of AI. If we want the computational power to be at the level that OpenAI and NVIDIA and everybody is discussing, yes.
Yeah, I think Agnes' point is, if you think Bitcoin's sucking up a lot of power now, just wait till we have AI really online. Then it's going to be, it's going to be crazy. Can I try to demystify a second the whole mining thing?
Yes.
Because people, too many people in
foreign
crypto,
to me.
too many people in crypto like confusing everybody. They go out of their way to make...
And let's start with this. It's
Yeah.
my understanding that the way the original, whoever he was who wrote the Bitcoin,
Satoshi
Nakamoto, if he really exists.
Who knows?
But he capped it at 21 million Bitcoin.
Right.
How many have been mined to date?
I think there's still, what is it, 100 years of mining? Around 100 years. But also you have to understand that as you mine, you are mining less and less. That's why the time is extending.
Let me explain what mining is.
Go.
Because
Thank you.
I'm telling you, that, okay, all mining, let's say we have, I don't know if the number is 10,000. Let's just use 10,000, it's an easy number. Let's say there are 10,000 miners in the system. All they're doing is validating transactions. So how does that work? David gives Jim 1 Bitcoin. Let's say that's the transaction. We do that. Every one of these miners literally scream to each other. David gave Jim a Bitcoin. David gave Jim a Bitcoin. David gave, scream, all of them screaming it. And when they scream it, they add a random number at the end. David gave Jim 1 Bitcoin. Da, 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 da. David, Jim, and literally they keep screaming it until one of them, one of those random numbers, wins the prize. It's literally a lottery. So every time there's a transaction, or every small number of batch transactions, everyone yells the transactions to each other. So everyone says, David gave Jim 1 Bitcoin.
So that their records are...
All the records get synchronized, exactly. You say it so many times you can't possibly mistake anymore. Yeah. And after 10,000 people scream at each other, I'm making these numbers up, 10,000 times each, one of them finally hits it with the number that wins the lottery for that particular transaction.
Who determines what that number is?
Basically, the way it works is you have to be below, what happens is David gives Jim 1 Bitcoin with a random number. You run that through what's known as a hash. A hash is something that you put in information to the hash and it spits out a different random number. And the rule is you have to be below some number for the output of the hash to win the award. So it's literally just designed to be a random number thing.
It's algorithm. So
Yeah,
there's not like a one person deciding. It's pretty much algorithm randomly spits the number that is going to pretty much win.
And the more people doing it, the harder it is to win.
Yes.
And it's designed that way. So no one has to go in and make a fix. It's designed up front that the more people screaming at each other, the harder it is to be a winner. Now, once there's a winner, congratulations, here's your Bitcoin, or here's whatever the prize is at the moment. Then you go on to the next one. Jim gives Agnes a half a Bitcoin. Everyone starts yelling at each other there.
Well, that's where I get really confused.
Yeah.
Is, okay, there's 1 Bitcoin.
Yep.
In 2015, it was worth $100.
Yeah.
Today it's worth $100,000. But that Bitcoin has been fractionalized many times because of commerce.
Yeah.
It seems like the numbers get enormous then. How do you keep track of the...
That's not that hard to keep track. So put it this way. We were talking about photography earlier. I recently bought a new little memory card for my camera. It's a 1 terabyte memory card. If you take every single Bitcoin transaction that has happened since the very beginning, every one of them, that all these people, that would fit on a memory card that I just bought for my camera. Like, no big deal. Like, it's just not that much to record.
It's not that much compute.
It's not that much data to back up. I mean, David gave Jim 1. Jim gave Agnes a half. Like, you can make a really long list of that, and it's not all that much data relative to a terabyte of storage. Terabyte of storage, hard drive, I don't know what it costs, $100, maybe less. So that's not the hard part. You're making it hard.
I remember when at 1-800-Flowers, we finally had a gig.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Well, let me also mention one other thing. We talked about electricity. There's no doubt that Bitcoin, what's known as the proof of work system, which is what we've been talking about here, is a serious problem, because the bigger it gets, the more electricity it consumes. It's consuming more power. It's comparable to the power of South America. Like, that's not good.
But what if
but that's the bad news.
What if the electric fails?
Well, then you can't have Bitcoin. But we have a lot of other problems. If there's no electricity in the whole world, we have bigger problems than Bitcoin.
Yeah. But does Bitcoin go away then?
I mean, if it permanently fails, if we never have electricity or any other power.
Well, I mean, if you lose power in your systems,
Oh, no, it's backed up. No, it'll be backed up. So if you have a momentary loss of power, that's not going to be a problem. But let me just give you some good news here. So there are 2 types of systems to what known as validate transactions. Validate is where proof of work is the one that we've been talking about, and that's the one that takes up the amount of Argentina levels of electricity. Bitcoin is really the only blockchain today that is on that system. Every other one is on something called proof of stake. And proof of stake is a very similar system, except you don't need lots and lots of electricity to do it. You put up your own capital as to stake the stake. So in other words, if the 3 of us are staking on a huge group and we all put up money to be a staker, and you have a brilliant idea, let's try to steal a bunch of money. All the other stakers are going to say Jim is full of BS, and you actually get slashed. You actually lose your money. Yep. So instead of risking spending a lot of money on electricity, which has all sorts of negative problems, Here you're just risking losing money. I'd be sad if you lost money, but it doesn't like cause massive environmental problems if Jim lost some money. So anyway, every other blockchain right now is on proof of stake, not proof of work, and that is a major improvement as far as environmental issues.
And the only reason why Bitcoin is not able to, because Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake, because it was much, much younger and newer code that had a flexibility in it. Bitcoin doesn't have that flexibility.
So Bitcoin and Ethereum are just different tokenized forms
Yes.
of value.
Different blockchains.
Different blockchains, because Bitcoin is pretty much mostly used for a payment system. It cannot be used for anything else. Ethereum is flexible enough that you can build a company on it. You can do anything you want on it.
And I've learned about Ethereum in the last bunch of months from Tom Lee. And he makes such a compelling argument
Yes.
for why that particular blockchain with that particular
Yep.
stake foundation is the blockchain that financial institutions are likely to build on top of versus Bitcoin.
Exactly. Because
So he's a fan of both
Yeah.
Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it seems to me like he said, well, this fellow Michael Saylor at MicroStrategies had a clever idea, which was to create a different tokenization in the form of his stock that you could get access to Bitcoin without having to buy Bitcoin. And if he was going to be a constant buyer, then you knew there was always a buyer out there for the currency. It seemed, I didn't understand what he was doing for a long time. Listening to Tom talk about what Michael Saylor did and how he's mimicking that in some way in Ethereum started to make a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah. I think Ethereum has just way more flexibility and can be adjusted and can be improved than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is pretty much, I don't want to call it an old code or old version, but it is less flexible because, like I said at the beginning, it was designed with the idea just of a payment system. There are some, they are looking to build some, second layers and stuff like that, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than on Ethereum. So I agree with Tom.
Let me take a shot explaining. Tell me if you disagree with this.
Yeah.
The way I explain this to people, Bitcoin is like digital gold. We know gold. We've all had gold. We all know what gold is. People have been using gold as a store of value for many years. And with all the hubbub and excitement about crypto, the market cap of gold is still many, many multiples, like more than 10x the market cap of Bitcoin right now.
Kick off the year with wellness goals you'll actually enjoy, like eating more seafood and cooking at home. You'll love the fresh caught flavor and effortless ease of our recipe kits, entrees, and time-saving dinners.
We talked about your aha moment,
Yes.
sitting there
Yeah.
trying to unwind Lehman Brothers, saying, what if there was
Yeah.
a big old ledger where this all was recorded? What was your aha moment, David? You said you bought Bitcoin in 2015. You've been around the banking industry for a long time. You know it better than most. You've been a traditional private equity investor. Is there at some point, and was it around stablecoin and around Circle, or had you been enlightened before that?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would even call it as enlightened. Again, I don't consider myself a native, right? I'm not only talking crypto all day, all night. My aha moment was less of a moment and more of just, this is real. This isn't to be here for a long time. It's built really thoughtfully. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It's a lot better than a lot of stuff we have today, and it's going to be with us for a long time. And but again, I don't think all money as we know it is going to be gone in 5 years from now, like a lot of crypto maximalists.
But what is going to happen in the next 5 years?
I think more and more things that we all do in our normal lives will be done on one of these blockchains rather than in the old rails. Less stuff we will have to count on the banks or whomever to manage whose money is whose and all that. And you can understand why the knee-jerk reaction from all these big banks, probably small banks too, was they didn't like this very much. Because when you're in the middle and you control everything, you don't like seeing some rail that goes outside of you, goes around you. Governments don't love it either, right?
Speaking of governments.
Yeah.
We had a change in administrations at the beginning of this year. The last administration, I don't know if they were hostile, but they certainly weren't embracive of this new blockchain, crypto kind of world. You had a Gary Gensler at the SEC who didn't want to take this on, and so it seemed to be, people were confused by that. And now you have an administration that's very much for and pro this evolving and changing technology. People don't realize how much regulatory environments impact the world. How is this regulatory environment under the Trump administration's pro-crypto world changed everything?
So I think that the governments make a little bit much bigger deal out of it than it really is, and I think it has something to do, and David, correct me, with pretty much big banking systems, pretty much campaigning for such a things. Because if you use blockchain or crypto in a space of real estate, that's already regulated. Like allow them to go under that regulatory regime. If you're using it as a form of derivative, do the same. If you're using it as a form of pretty much anything else, it should comply with whatever area it's being used. And I think,
doesn't it have the power to really change that regulated environment? Buying a house is so complicated.
Yes.
Doesn't this have the potential to threaten title insurance companies?
Yes.
To change how much lawyers can charge? And
look, you would think with smart contracts we wouldn't need title insurance, right? The same way you can have a blockchain of who owns what Bitcoin, you should be able to have a blockchain of who owns what house.
Yes.
That should, by the way, title insurance is not a global thing. In Germany, in many countries, some local place has a list of who owns what house, and that's the end of it.
Yep.
In the US, they have these weird rules where title insurance is a thing. But that's a good example, though, of things where you can have this immutable blockchain that is very difficult to argue with, that can keep track of these things and keep track of ownership. More generally, on your point about regulation, I think that governments, not just the US, but governments across the world, are coming to the realization that blockchain is different in that they can't just control it like anything else in the past. During the Biden administration, when they sort of ignored it / were hostile to it, it's not like crypto died. It's not like the Bitcoin blockchain ended. It continued. I think governments have legitimate worries about things like money laundering and criminals being able to transact with crypto. I do think crypto has made criminals' lives easier.
yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean we should ban crypto. If you're a bank robber, having access to a car is really valuable, right? But no one's saying we should ban automobiles because bank robbers use them to get away. That's kind of how I feel about crypto, right? Like, if we're worried that drug dealers or gun smugglers or whatever are going to use crypto to transact, I'm here to tell you, like, that ship has left the station. Like that train's left the station.
Yeah.
That is over, and that is happening. And we're in a point from a technological point of view where you probably can't stop that. So I think governments around the world, including the U.S., are starting to come to the realization that we can't control everything. And rather than pushing these things away to other places, let's try to be champions of it, because to have the best technology, the best people come here and be leaders in it.
Fiat currencies. The US dollar is considered the fiat currency for the world.
Yep.
What impact does blockchain, crypto currencies have on that?
So
Shouldn't governments be concerned about losing control of their own currency?
Yes.
One of the things that when you have a $36, $7, $8 trillion debt that heretofore you've been able to inflate your way around, that you can't inflate a crypto coin.
So I think I have a little bit more, more controversial opinion on that.
I like controversy.
Okay,
Let's cause some
so
controversy.
wait until the Bitcoin guys find me. Maybe we should stop recording. I think if US wants to continue be the hard currency of the world, US government should issue a stablecoin. There should be a stablecoin that is issued by US government and it's backed by treasuries, because that will allow you to be pretty much in almost every household, let's call it that way, and it will allow you to also have a little bit better understanding and control over your treasuries. Because a lot of these stable coins, and you invested in Circle, so you know this well, from Circle to Tether to Binance stable coin, everybody else, everybody has a story how their coin is pegged to US dollar. When they say US dollar, they mean US Treasury. So,
Agnes, Budzyn, thank you.
thank you.
David, Schamis, thank you. I think everyone knows now why I call you my two smart friends.
We're really honored. Thank you
Thanks.
for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.